I've been
Those
just
are
thinking about.
fantastic. Yeah.
I've been thinking about them a lot, and I'm just like, I can't wait to go back and watch them.
Sorry, I was just checking on my recorder. No, we forgot to mention Baraka a couple episodes ago, and that was my kind of like the Catsy trilogy was my kind of introduction to Baraka and winged migration and Samsara and things like that. So yeah, it's Koyanis Catsy, Palace Catsy, and Nakoi Catsy, isn't it? Which are all, I think they're interesting films. So Koyanis Catsy is the one that sort of deals with the southern hemisphere or the northern hemisphere, I think.
That's the second one, I think.
That's the second one. It's
Koyanis Catsy is the northern.
Yeah, and then Nakoi Catsy is technology and
capitalism.
And they're really interesting films. Definitely worth a watch. But yeah, this Les Blanc business. Heather, I know you mentioned a while ago we were talking about Les Blanc because why did I start talking about that? Yeah, Bad Lieutenant, directed by Werner Herzog. Les Blanc directed a film called Werner Herzog Eats a Shoe because Werner Herzog bet Errol Morris, the filmmaker, that he would not finish his first film, Gates of Heaven. He did finish it, so Les Blanc made a documentary about Werner Herzog eating his shoe. I then watched Vernon, Florida, directed by Errol Morris, because that was on the Criterion Channel, which is an amazing film if you haven't seen it. And then through that, kind of went into a sort of a Les Blanc-a-thon and watched basically all I had time to watch in the mornings, which is Burden of Dreams, which is an amazing film about the making of Fitzcarraldo, which is equally brilliant film, but completely mad about trying to sort of build a mechanism to pull a boat over a hill in the Amazon. It's absolutely ridiculous, but absolutely worth it as well. And then, what else was there that I watched?
Was I talking about Garlic is as good as 10 Mothers?
That's right. And you said that at the screening, someone was cooking garlic.
We roasted garlic in like a toaster oven in the Metro Cinema.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That would never happen.
No, it seems unrealistic.
It's a different day.
But yeah, no, definitely. If you're not familiar with those, but you can find pretty much all these films on things like YouTube and Vimeo as well if you don't have access to the Criterion Channel. But things like Always for Pleasure, which is a lot. I wish kind of went on a sort of Louisiana kick. So Always for Pleasure, Yum Yum Yum, A Taste of Cajun and Creole Cooking, and Spend It All and Hot Pepper as well as the Blues According to Lightning Hopkins. Just an amazing filmmaker, Les Blanc. A lot of these films they're not all feature length. Some of them are half an hour, some of them are sort of 40 minutes, some of them are 20 minutes. But they're all just fascinating films, so I definitely recommend doing some of that. And Nick, you were asking last time if there was some service that allows you to find out what films are showing on what streaming services. I believe if you go to justwatch.com, it'll tell you where the film that you're looking for is streaming.
I'm still not clear if it's US only or not, but
Just Watch.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like if it's telling you where.
Yeah, because they have different like compared to Netflix US versus Netflix Canada's very different. I don't know how different all the other ones are because I guess Crave is probably Canada only. I don't. Anyways.
Yeah.
I know Amazon Prime probably has different ones too or something. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either, but that's somewhat useful because some of those films there will be a crossover for some of those films. Definitely. What else was I going to ask you about?
We were going to talk about art.
I was going to talk about art. Of course. Now, before I do that, let me just give me a second.
He's going to go get some art.
I was going to go and get one of my triangles. No, I'm not. So I was watching. What was the first? The first film when Connor gave me very kindly gave me access to the Criterion Channel was I watched Fire Walk with Me, which is one of my favourite films. And I text Heather immediately to tell her all about it. That's what I was watching at like 8 in the morning or whatever it was. But later that night we watched Art School Confidential, which was a film by Terry Zwigoff, who also made Ghost World. And it is the second collaboration between Zwigoff and Daniel Klaus, who is the guy that Shia LaBeouf ripped off for that film HowardCantor.com. He made a film, released it online, and then didn't acknowledge that the work was based on a short story by Daniel Klaus. So then he apologized to Klaus, but over in the sky in Hollywood, as opposed to where Klaus lives, so that people in Hollywood could see that he was apologizing to this person, but the person he was apologizing to had no idea that he was being apologized to. It was a very strange thing that happened, and then he said apparently LaBeouf was threatening to just adapt another piece, again without permission, so I'm not sure what happened to all that. Anyway, it's the second adaptation from one of his works. Has anyone seen this film? It's a very... You've seen Ghost World, though, right? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Ghost World was my introduction to Robert Johnson, which is... He played an amazing song called Devil Got My Woman, which is like a key piece of music in the film. It's like Steve Buscemi's kind of mode of conversation between him and Thora Birch as well. It's amazing. What was it? Yes, art school kind of. John Malkovich is one of the tutors in it, and he's kind of very perfectly cast as this, as this teacher who kind of thinks clearly quite a lot of himself, and is never respected in the way that he feels like he should be. So he kind of, if someone offers him an exhibition space, he'll say things like, "This guy is tormenting me for my work to exhibit in this place," and clearly he's not. He really, really wants the attention, but he just can't admit that he's desperate, basically. But he talks about, at one point, this student Jerome is trying to copy the student who is drawing these very childlike pictures, and Malkovich says to him he's trying to sing in his own voice using somebody else's vocal cords. And I thought that was a sort of really beautifully damning criticism of somebody trying to emulate what somebody else is doing without saying stop plagiarizing somebody. But in the film as well, Malkovich paints triangles, and he claims to be one of the first to have done so. And it got me thinking, I actually do know a guy who used to paint triangles, and he's called Justin Knowles, and he is actually famous for painting triangles and other geometric shapes as well. I think my dad, who is a wildlife artist in Devon, had an original Justin Knowles on his wall. It was just a series of triangles in different formations, and that got me thinking, isn't art funny?
There's some real deja vu here.
A little bit, but what I don't know. It did get me thinking. What is it about certain artists or pieces of art that I find I can stare at endlessly, for hours and find inspiring, or things that I just think are stupid and funny, but still kind of find that captivating in the same way? Is there any kind of are there any artists that you absolutely hate, can't understand why anyone has any fascination or interest in them at all? People like Damien Hirst, is there anything that sort of any photography, things like that really kind of inspire you? Or is there art that you just absolutely hate?
I like that you brought up Damien Hirst because I just don't get it.
That's fair.
That's
absolutely fair. Yeah.
The fascination. Also, not art, but I've been waiting for a moment to try and get in there to say this. Lucy, how many mugs do you have right now that you're drinking from?
I have the mug that I am drinking tea out of.
Right.
And then I have the mug that I was drinking coffee out of. And then I have the mug where I painstakingly tried to set up forced perspective to make it look normal.
You put it on something.
But really, it's so small.
Apart. Oh my god, it is so small.
Yeah. This was how I spent 10 minutes leading up to this call. I have a stack of things in front of my thing to set it up, and I was Googling how to do forced perspective, and I had to try to get it right in the edge there. And then I was sort of does it even look normal sized? I can't tell anymore.
Right now it does.
I really appreciate your commitment to this production.
Thank you.
Really,
art is what inspires me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is art we can all get behind. And Talisha, thank you for
asking. Heather, I don't know why I've automatically kind of gravitated towards you, but I feel like you must have some
strong opinions?
some opinion about art, painting, photography. Is there something that particularly grabs you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about in terms of hate. I remember there was this Instagram account that was Renoir sucks at painting or something, and it would just be trolling Renoir, and I thought that was kind of funny because for whatever, his work does not speak to me, and so
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. But like going back to that kind of isn't art funny and painting triangles and stuff. Like I really like Miro, and that's
Mhm.
like a lot of like spots and squiggly lines. And I was painting with my daughter yesterday, and I was trying to do something abstract, and I have no idea how you do that. Like when I do something like that, it just looks completely ridiculous to me. Like I just don't know how you envision it.
I was watching David Lynch, The Art Life as well, which is a documentary that was released a couple of years ago now, about basically what he's doing now, which is, other than Twin Peaks: The Return, he's kind of been a painter, but he was a painter before he even made Eraserhead. So it's not like he's suddenly just become. Yes, exactly. He's not just become, a sort of art painting sculpture hobbyist. That's always been his kind of primary form of artistic expression, but he's best known for his films because they make the most money, I would have thought. Yeah, I was watching as well that documentary I was watching a couple episodes ago, The Genius of Photography, and there's a photographer in it called Gregory Crewdson, who makes these staged photographs that look like movie sets. They look like they look a bit like Edward Hopper or Jack Vetriano paintings. These kind of if you ever go into Route 99 and look at the Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which is just the sort of pictures of famous people from old movie scenes, James Dean and such, sitting in cafes and things. Kind of does these weird kind of crossover pieces but the production values on them are utterly insane. Like they cost as much as making films. And he even claims that he doesn't even like to touch a camera. I love the insanity of that.
As a photography goes, I really like Edward Burtynsky.
Yeah,
that's like my contribution.
No, me too. I absolutely do. Burtynsky. Another one.
You just stole what I was going to talk about.
Oh, sorry, Talisha.
No, you gave me a segue.
Yeah, exactly.
Talisha, would you like to expand?
No, it's fine.
Well, since you won't, go and look at the work of Edward Burtynsky or Manufactured Landscapes.
I'm more known for the films, honestly.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
So Manufactured Landscapes is one, which is... What is that about? It's partly to do with a series that he actually that he shot as well. He has these amazing kind of large format pictures of...
It's the oil sands, right?
So
it's not just the oil sands.
Not just the oil sands. It's
a lot of things, but
the Anthropocene.
It's like
Anthropocene.
Burtynsky had a showing at the Art Gallery of Alberta, like it might actually have been a decade ago now, where they were in the big upper space, and just like standing in front of those photographs, like full size.
They're on light boxes too. They're done on Duratrend prints, and
it's just the sheer scale of them. It's like knowing it's like how many photographs that he probably had to stitch together to make something of that magnitude, and just how much detail there is when you're actually seeing it up close.
I think they're actually shot with a large format film camera.
Yeah.
So it is one image, but it's the negative.
I've read that he's had like some of them are up to like a bunch of composite photos to make. I think it's a mix. I think there's definitely ones that are one photo, but I've read about ones where it's like he's like, to get that size it had to be like a couple photos, right? Well, more than a couple stitched together to create the size of it.
If you watch Manufactured Landscapes, you do actually get to see how he pieces these images together. Or how he composes an image, not necessarily how he puts them together, made of multiple images, but they're all kind of made of. The subject matter is mostly for that kind of series, at least, is man-made incursions in the earth. So it's like things like the oil sands, or where we've dumped. Landfill. That's what I'm looking. That's the word I'm looking for. Landfills.
Usually not in the ocean, though. They're usually on land.
The ocean landfills.
There's there's things out in the ocean, just like islands of rubbish. I couldn't think of a better way of describing it than island of rubbish.
Isn't there that's a Garbage Island? Isn't that also? There's a documentary about an island where they send all the. That sounds so vague, but I remember watching it.
Wow.
I forget what it's called.
Isn't
I'll
that
I'll find it up for next time.
something to do with Isle of Dogs? Isn't that?
I just watched that too.
That's
But I actually do have to go now.
Okay, all right. Well, that seems like a reasonable place to end things for today. But that's okay. We'll continue talking about you behind your back as you go off and do something important.
Okay, nice to see you all.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. See you next time.
What does she have to do?
I have a programming meeting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's called Garbage Island, by the way. The movie is called
Garbage Island. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hang on. Garbage.